Well, tonight on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive in a little bit into this Breakfast Club interview that they had with Larry Elder. Now, when I viewed the whole interview on the Breakfast Club, and I will say that that was the most horrible interview, horrible answers. Everything I could think of that's horrible happened in that particular interview with Larry Elder. Now, if anyone know who Larry Elder is, Larry Elder been around a very long time. I remember the first time I seen Larry Elder when he had the Larry Elder show that would come on television. Ooh, when I was younger, a kid. I remember the Larry Elder show. Back then, I didn't have the knowledge I have now. I said, okay, well, he's a little different. He kind of on his high horse a little bit. It is what it is. You got them kind of black folk. That's why I kind of thought about Larry Elder. He was that I'm kind of better than the rest of these other blacks kind of deal. You got him, whatever. That's his get down. Larry been around a long time. Syndicated radio shows. He wrote many books. Larry Elder has not really changed his tune. So when you deal with Larry Elder, it's not really much. You got to figure out what he's going to say because he literally repeats everything constantly, what he's going to say, right? Larry Elder want to run for president of the United States. That alone opened up Larry Elder to so many things you could have came back at him about, right? Larry Elder kept homing in about fatherlessness in the black community, and which is a issue. I would definitely say that. But not one time between all three people on the Breakfast Club, I did not see them give one retort other than out of emotion. And that whole interview, if you go take a chance to watch it, don't listen to what they're really saying back to him. Pay attention to the emotion of it. Emotional responses is why we lose as a community. We so much in our feelings instead of looking at, okay, let me be more calculated. Let me be strategic. I'm dealing with this guy. Let me know. And this is the sad part. They're sitting in front of computers. So you literally can type up on Google and how to even respond back to Larry Elder, and they didn't even do that. That was the sad part about it. Another thing, you don't need Larry Elder to agree that the system is rigged against black America. You don't need him to agree with that. He would never agree with that. That's not him. That's not his get down. You waste so much time trying to get him to agree to something that he don't believe. But at the same time, you had his number when he was talking about basically how the process is keeping him out. That was your opportunity to really home in on him being a victim. But you didn't do it. You didn't press Larry Elder on the fatherlessness part, right? If I had to deal with Larry Elder and he kept on harming in about fatherless household, and I'm like, okay, Larry, when did this happen? So in the interview, he said it happened during the welfare state. Like, nah, Larry, some of that happened, but when did it really happen? Right? When did the mass incarceration of black fathers happen? Of course, he's going to agree and say, well, Joe Biden, Democrats, crime bill, XYZ. I'm saying, okay, fine. Fatherlessness is a problem. I'm with you, Larry. I'm a father. I want to see every child have their father in their life. But Larry, this is what I want to know. Since you going to be president, you're trying to be president, what are you going to do to fix the situation with fatherless households in the black community? Because see, you being the president, you can reverse what the Democrats did, right? You could bring all those fathers home out of prison that had nonviolent offenses. Because remember, if you had one crack rock in your pocket, it was 5 years or more. It depends on how many you had, right? So you had 3, you're looking at 15 years, mandatory minimums. You throw it back at Larry Elder and say, well, look, this is what Joe Biden and them did. So wouldn't it be great for you to reverse what Joe Biden did and the Democrats, and you bring all those men home so those fathers can be in the household, and you could put up a policy that their records are wiped clean, their felonies are off their records. You could also put in a law where those men can actually get housing and all of that, and jobs can't discriminate against people that with nonviolent offenses. See, I would have been homing in on him about mass incarceration of nonviolent people. I personally believe nonviolent offenders don't belong in jail. I think you should give them a fine, maybe community service, something like that, right? And now, if they don't pay their fine, they don't do their community service, don't do whatever you need them to do, okay, then we're going to jail you because you're not following the agreement. And it's more so a contempt of court jailing, not I'm going to mass incarcerate you, that sort of thing, kind of like child support. When people go to jail for child support, it's because contempt of court. That's really what it is. When people get an order of child support, they don't throw you in, they don't put you in jail. No, it's a process to get to that point. So it's so much, Lord, it's so much I could take almost a whole week, y'all, literally dissecting parts of that interview and showing how bad all three of them responded. But we're going to focus on one of the main things that people was talking about. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So Charlamagne tried to ask Larry Elder about, the N-word wake-up call, right? And I know where his mind was going, like, hey, have you ever had something like that? But we're going to review this. Of course, we're going to do the audio version of it because sometimes when you show the Breakfast Club interviews, I know other people do it. Listen, I'm not about to go through all the stuff you go through to try to clear all that mess. I don't want to deal with it, right? Y'all didn't probably seen it. It's about hearing it for me right now and responding to it in real time. So let's go ahead and do that.
Have you ever heard the term a wake-up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you
I got a problem with that definition. The problem I have with the definition, if it's a N-word wake-up call, why are you saying people of color? Do you know saying people of color is another word saying colored? That's a remix on the term colored. Now, we didn't like the term colored, right? So why are you accepting people of color? It's just a remix on that. And then when you mention that term, nobody else has been labeled that term, the N-word. Nobody been labeled that but Black America. So why are you saying people of color? Whoever came with that definition is silly, and Charlamagne should have known better than that. But let's continue.
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever
Well, I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
Man, Larry Elder, wow. He checkmate Charlamagne so good in his responses. I mean, the whole time Larry Elder was there, he was just hitting them with so many facts. I'm like, why didn't y'all bring somebody on that platform when you know Larry Elder's gonna be there who could fire back off at Larry Elder? But see, that whole interview showed you one thing that we've always talked about, all of us who are doing media today. We have told you that entertainers need to stay in that lane of entertainment. Talk about Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion. Talk about Lil Durk. Talk about whoever else you're going to talk about. Stay in the lane of entertainment, movies, comedy. Just stay in that lane. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you try to cross into something you know nothing about, and somebody like Larry Elder, who is seasoned at his get down, he made y'all look really silly. Even when you tried to so-called get him, he flipped it back on Charlamagne, because we all talked about that situation with Charlamagne. How are you sitting up there letting Joe Biden tell you you're not black if you don't vote for him? So our blackness is predicated off of voting for Joe Biden, and unfortunately, Joe Biden, I guess, was right, because a lot of you were black because you voted for him, even after insulting you. No other community will allow themselves to be insulted in that manner, but you. But because you're so much in your feelings for everything about you is feelings. And I'm going to call it what it is. Traditionally, women operate in the area of emotion because they're naturally that way. Men are supposed to operate in the area of non-emotion more factual, more is this or that. We don't do the gray area, right? We are focused more on strategy. We focus more on dominating and different things that men are supposed to be focused on. But unfortunately, in our community, when it comes to political party, especially the Democrat Party, it is an emotional attachment with these people. I see grown men so emotional. I'm not talking about the women. I'm not mad at women being emotional. That's what they do. We have grown men in our community that's so emotional that they literally react like the women will behind this Democrat Party, period. When we're supposed to be looking at and even protecting our community, protecting the women, protecting the children, we're supposed to be watching out for certain things. We are just as emotional as they are when it comes to this Democrat Party, period. Oh, Trump, he said some this, he said some that. Man, the supervisor you work for done said worse. Everybody in this country who are black have dealt with some person saying something discriminatory, having a discriminatory attitude, said things. Come on now, your so-called boss right now at your job don't like you like that. And you know they don't like you like that. You know. And you still get yourself up every morning and go clock in. Why? Because you know to put that to the side, because reality says I got to pay my rent or mortgage. I got to pay my light bill, my cell phone bill, my internet bill. I got to pay my car note, my insurance. I got to provide for my children. Yes, I know he don't like me. Yes, they clearly show they can't stand me. But I got to come here and deal with that, unfortunately, because I'm focusing on the bigger picture. See, how is it that you do that at your job and them folks don't like none of us like that? They don't have this big love for us. For them, it's all business while we even hired anyway, and that's fine. We can keep it all business. There's no problem. I'm not mad about that. You don't have to like me. I just need my check at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, whatever how I'm paid. I need that. You have no problem putting that aside, taking emotion out of that. But when it comes to this Democrat Party, you're so emotional. I have more men. Let me tell you something. I have more men that upset with me sometime when I talk about topics like this than even the women. More men are emotional. Listen, once again, I get it with the women. I give women a pass on that. I'm not tripping on women saying certain things to me. But when you grown men acting that way, and you wonder why a lot of times our children and even the women don't even respect a lot of us as a collective of men, because we too doggone emotional. Somebody got to be the strong person, right? Someone got to take the lead. So Charlamagne should have checked Biden right then and there, and he did not. Charlamagne showed himself to be a weak black man. Weak. How did he go home before his wife that day? Knowing Joe Biden said this to him right in his face. He didn't say it on no other platform. He said it on a so-called black platform. It's not black owned. It's not. But a so-called platform that caters to the black community. Let's continue.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean?
So what Joe Biden said, disrespecting your community, it didn't upset you. Why are you comparing Larry Elder to him? Larry Elder, whether you disagree with him about his politics, fine. There's a whole lot I disagree with Larry Elder on. Larry Elder been shucking and jiving for too long. It doesn't make sense for a man to be doing that. But Joe Biden disrespected your whole community. Let me tell you something. If Joe Biden would have said that about any other group, it would have been a problem. And they for sure would have respected themselves enough to not vote for him. But the way, let's call it, because I'm just based off of the voting. The majority of black America, they say, you know what? Yeah, Joe Biden, he shouldn't have said that. But I don't care if he disrespect me. I don't care about his record of what he's done to our community. I don't care. I just got to get that Trump out. That's what the move was. The guy that ushered in mass incarceration in our community, that guy. And that guy that insulted you again, He's constantly insulting the black community. I don't want to integrate my children into a racial jungle. That guy said it. And that's the guy you say, oh, but Phil, you don't understand, Phil. He was dangerous, man. Every day in our life is dangerous in living in America. Every day. Period. The majority of us not going to meet no politician like that. If something going to happen to you when it comes to quote unquote government, it's going to be in your local communities that's messing with you or can harm you. No politician out here, even Biden himself, is going to physically harm you. Or Trump. He's not going to physically harm you either. Who harms people? The police in your local communities. That's the ones who do things to you. Your local DAs, your local judges. That's the ones that are affecting you a lot more. But we don't have respect enough for ourselves to say, you know what? I may not like that Trump, but Biden, what he just said, oh no. Respecting yourself would have been like, I'm not voting for now one of them. That's respecting yourself. Because if you don't like Trump, no problem. You shouldn't have voted for Biden at all. You should have just sat that one out as respect for yourself. Because we always got some emotional man that's showing up in the comments, pocket watching, worried about if I'm getting a check. You know, pocket watching with a man, that's extremely feminine. And you know what? I don't even have women pocket watching like that. I don't. I don't know if y'all realize no political party messes with me. Just be honest with you. None of them do. A lot of black folks don't mess with me. In a lot of ways, they don't. But everybody watching though. Oh, I know they're watching. But I'm cool with that because my mission is, I don't want to be in certain circles, no way, and I'm actually cool with it. I'm not upset when I say that. I'm only using that to say I'm not getting a bag like that. And let's call it what it is. If the Republicans was trying to give me a bag, I shouldn't even be looking at them like that because shouldn't my community be the one supporting me? And which my community do support me. Republicans, I don't affiliate with them. So that's what y'all say when you don't have an answer to what someone's telling you. You say, oh, they're giving you this, they're giving you that. Okay, you must be Republican. If I was a Republican, what are you going to do about it, sir? If I was. Because always some man showing up. And that's why the black women don't respect y'all behind. I got to go there because there's too many weak men in our community. And then when them sisters call you weak, you want to get mad. Why you weak? Because you're whining like a woman. But let's continue.
Tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney, because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, no, for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
Oh, Charlamagne. After everything that man just told you, he nailed you to the wall, Charlamagne. Just concede defeat on that one, Charlamagne. Concede defeat. The first response out of your mind is, I'm not a Democrat. Charlamagne, what are you talking about? All of y'all are Democrats. Or Democrat shields or anything else. Everything with y'all, every Democrat politician. Now, y'all been kind of, since you've been on BET, I noticed y'all been kind of, at least the people who setting up the interviews have been kind of doing both sides, which is actually the right way to do it. Do both sides. Don't just do one side. So that's almost going back to the fairness doctrine that used to be in media. Because if you want to know why media got messed up is when they removed the fairness doctrine. But why did you have to tell him that? He didn't even ask you that question. You had no retort, but, well, I'm not a Democrat. Well, that quite fooled me. I'm just saying, but let's continue.
I don't know what you are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation. Yeah, I'm just saying, but you are black. And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to say think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said.
Why did you have to ask Larry Elder how you should reply to him, right? You're a grown freaking man. You on the radio every freaking day. The majority of the week you're doing shows. You should know how to respond to people by now. Why are you asking Larry Elder? That's what I'm talking about. You acted like a child in that moment, Charlamagne. Well, how you think I should have responded? What?
Dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now?
Nope, they're not. I will say that. Because in this community, I will say that. If you don't vote with the community party, and that's kind of what it is, the community party is the Democrat Party. It is cultural for people. You don't vote for Democrat, man, listen, they will throw you out the house if you don't vote Democrat. But you could be involved in every kind of degeneracy. You could say you don't believe in God or whatever. Oh, well, you know, I mean, that's how you live your life. But tell them you're not going to vote for Democrat. Or even criticize the Democrats. Just criticize them. That's going to be a problem. And you're going to be told that you're not black. There's a lot of reasons I've said before why black men, and usually black men of a certain tax bracket too, why they will probably support the Republican Party on some things. Doesn't mean they want to be a part of it, but they just support some ideals. Realistically, the current Republican Party we have in 2023 is not a place for black men because they have a very, very anti-black wing of that party. Ron DeSantis, he's anti-black. He's part of that party. How could you literally sit there with Ron DeSantis and have a conversation with him, and he's trying to remove black people out of the history books? In Florida, how can you listen? It's so bad that even black Republicans have stood up and say, "Hey, wait a minute, dude, you're going way too far." But he's just only just mashing the gas. They've been have anti-black racism within that party, just as much as they got anti-black racism in the Democrat Party. They may not do it to the way that DeSantis is doing it, or Sarah Huckabee Sanders out there in Arkansas is doing it, but they still have anti-black racism by not prioritizing Black America, by giving all the resources to all these different people, whether they don't live in this country or come from different countries who are not citizens, or prioritize everything against the black community. So it doesn't matter what side you really want to go on, we're screwed. It's better for black people, if we want to be real, to be politically independent. That's what we should stay at and say, listen, anybody can fight for my vote, but you got to give me something to get this vote. That's really what it is. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They feel that, and that's why the Democrat Party treat us the way they treat us, because, hey, I got their vote. Don't worry about them. That's like a person being in a relationship and they feel that you can't go nowhere. You can't get nobody else for whatever the reason they think that. And then they treat you bad. They treat you any kind of way. Some people have been in those relationships, right? And that's how it is with the Democrat Party. Oh, I got their vote. I ain't worried with them. I'm going to do whatever I want to do because they're going to come back. All I got to tell them is that if you don't vote for me, you're not black. That's all I got to tell black people. And they're going to fall right in line. All I got to do is visit their churches, hug their babies. All I got to tell them is that guy's racist. Ooh, look what he said. January the 6th. I got to tell them all that, and I'm easily going to get their votes. I could be destroying black people's salaries. I could be causing black people economic pain with inflation. I could be giving resources that belong to the black community to everybody else, Ukrainians, different people that come from across the border into this country illegally. I can do all of that and be harming black people. But hey, at least I'm not that guy. I'm not Republican. I'm not Trump. So, hey, yeah, I'm doing that to you, but if he gets in there, he gonna do a whole lot worse to you. So keep me in there and continue suffering economic pain. And that's what people will say. Well, I know the Democrats got their problems, but at least they won't be like them. Well, how? I mean, like, you act like the Democrats are treating us right. I can understand that they were treating us right. I can understand they're prioritizing us as a community. I would understand it 100%. But they don't. And this, well, he don't like us. Your supervisor don't like you, and yet you still go to work.
Only 80% of black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
I did.
As I said to him in that moment, it's just about me wanting something for my people, and I want to know what is he going to do for my people, and not only for my people now, how are you going to atone for the things you've done to my people?
Right.
That's it.
Right. And this is a guy, Joe Biden, who, when he first got into the Senate, hung out with segregationists, talked about how well he got along with them, talked about how he didn't want integration because of a jungle. This guy has made all sorts of insulting things to black people, and his policies right now are hurting black people. Inflation hurts the people at the bottom more than anything else. Letting a bunch of illegal aliens into the border are hurting black people more than anybody else, as I said earlier. He's opposed to school choice when he has his own kids in private school, and we lost a year, almost 2 years of in-school education in California because of COVID that he supported. I mean, this guy has done monstrous things to black people, and then for him to come in here and tell you how you ought to think as a black person, it blew my mind.
Yeah, that's the clip that we're going to review now. Once again, Charlamagne wasn't offended, and that's the problem. He was not offended. Everybody else was offended, but he was not offended. But also, like I said, Larry Elder was talking about California, and he's been in California for a long time. See, one response you could have told Larry Elder, even during the interview, right, was, Larry, well, California is a Democrat stronghold, and their policies are pretty bad, right? Why do you stay in California? I would ask him that question. I'm like, it's plenty of Republican states you can go to that would have your ideals, like Texas or Florida or whatever, Georgia, whatever Republican state that you can go to, right? Why didn't you leave California and make your life in a Republican state? It's so many ways you could ask Larry Elder questions about himself. When someone is so talking down on people or whatever, make it about them. And they didn't do that. And I'm not saying you have to be the smartest person in the world to make something about them. Make it more personal. Put them on a hot seat. But this is what happens once again when you have entertainers trying to get involved with different political conversation. And then I have to say, I was disappointed a lot, and I expected a lot more out of Sister Teslin. I expected a lot more out of her. Because I thought that she would have been the one hammering Larry Elder to having a good back and forth with Larry Elder, and it ended up being emotional. Like the one part where she kept talking about the system, who's running the system. Like, we know Larry Elder's get down. Don't even try it with Larry Elder. Don't try it. It's a waste of time. Just because Larry Elder may not believe that fire burns doesn't mean it don't burn. That's that sort of response, when it comes to Larry Elder and someone like him. But it's so much more than this, and we could just even get into it in that particular interview. But I will say this much, and I'm going to repeat this again. Yeah, just stick to entertainment. I think is good because if you listen, I don't have education in certain fields either. It'd be like me trying to debate a doctor about the medical field. I don't know crap. So I'm not even about to get involved with that kind of debate or conversation. If someone is trying to have a debate about, astrophysics or something like that, I'm not about to get in that debate because I don't know enough to have that conversation. It's okay to say, look, I don't know enough to have this conversation. So let me invite this person on the show that has that knowledge where they could kind of step in and go back and forth. See, sometimes you utilize other people, and that really makes you look smart. It's a time you just to back off and let the other person just have that conversation, that back and forth. That's it. Because trust me, Larry Elder, it would have been a good conversation with me and Larry Elder. Because there's times you agree with Larry Elder when you know he's right based on facts and statistics, and then you fire back off at him about what he's going to do about it since he's running for president. Put him in that position where he constantly has to respond or talk about his his life and why he didn't leave California. And he always talking about how liberal it is, but yet you're still there. Like, come on, are you seriously about being a Republican, or are you faking the funk? Because why would you stay in a liberal enclave like California if you're so Republican? I mean, do you at least live in Orange County? You at least live there, Larry? It would have been so many conversations I would have had with him about that. So, for me, like I said, this was utterly embarrassing. It really was. And oh boy, now all the white supremacists, oh my God, look what he did. I mean, like, what did he actually do? I mean, he went into a situation. He definitely had more knowledge than them, and it just showed, right? What did he really win in that situation? He didn't win anything other than a conversation. This conversation not gonna last very long, right? I mean, I think it's more of a embarrassment to the people in the Breakfast Club more than anything else. But even that, people forget that mess eventually, because they'll switch up in the news cycle, and then they'll be talking about Trump again or whoever. You know how that goes. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this conversation with Larry Elder and Charlamagne, talking about the N-word wake up call and all of that. This is what happened once again when a black man don't stand up and defend himself and his community, and he looks weak, and then someone call you on your weakness. It's sad. It's very sad that this black community voted for Joe Biden like that, even after he publicly disrespected us.